I wore my best suit, ironed twice, sharp enough to impress. Or so I thought. Name's Grant Whitaker, 39. And tonight, I walked straight into a rooftop ambush dressed as a celebration. Celeste, my wife of 11 years, asked me to come. A big company, party, fancy venue, city lights, music, glamour. She vanished into the crowd the moment we arrived. Mingle? She said, brushing a kiss on my cheek before disappearing. I grabbed a beer, smiled at strangers, played the part of the proud husband. Then, I saw them Celeste on the dance floor, her hand on her boss Jasper Clean's shoulder, his arm around her waist, too close, too familiar, too practiced. They moved like this wasn't their first time. She laughed at something he said, her head tilted back, her eyes alive in a way I hadn't seen in months. I waited for her to look at me, a wave, a nod, anything, nothing. So I walked over, heart pounding, tapped her shoulder. She turned, smile fading. "What's going on?" I asked. Jasper smirked. She tucked her hair behind her ear and said, "We're just dancing, Grant." I looked at him, looked at her. "It doesn't look like just dancing," she sighed, loud. "Tired of me." Then came the dagger. "I'll dance with whoever I want. You have two options. Sit and watch, or leave." I stared at her, waiting for her to laugh, to say she didn't mean it. She didn't. I left. Not because I wanted to, but because staying felt like permission to disappear. Down the elevator, into the night. The cold hit harder than her words. I wandered the streets, walked until the noise of the city dulled the sound of her voice in my head. Ended up at the docks, alone. 2 hours later, she texted. No apology, no explanation. Just, "Where are you?" I didn't answer. Instead, I called Owen, my oldest friend. "Can I crash at your place?" He didn't ask why, just said, "Yeah. Come." And that's where I am now, on a couch that smells like dust and old leather, still wearing that suit that suddenly feels like a joke. I keep seeing her with Jasper, her eyes, that laugh, and hearing those words, "Sit and watch," or "Leave." I left, but I don't think I was the one who walked away. She stood by the wall, arms crossed, the silence between us dense, choked with everything we hadn't said. "Where were you?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Owen's," I said. "After the party. Like you told me to." Her face flushed. She looked down at her mug. "I didn't mean it like that." I let out a dry, clipped laugh. "Then how did you mean it?" She fidgeted with her cup, took a shaky breath. "I was drunk, Grant. The wine, the music. I got carried away. I didn't think you'd take it that hard." I waited. Nothing more? That was all she had? "That's your excuse?" I asked. "You were grinding on Jasper in front of everyone like I wasn't there, and all you've got is I was drunk?" Her eyes snapped up, sharp again, like last night. "It was just a dance. You're blowing this out of proportion. You made a scene when you left." I stared at her. She was flipping it. "I embarrassed you?" I stepped forward. "You told me to sit down and watch you leave. Like some obedient mutt." "What exactly was I supposed to do, Celeste?" She pushed her chair back and stood, the legs scraping against the tile. "I didn't mean it that way. You're twisting it. Jasper's, my boss Grant. It was a company event. You don't get it." My hands curled into fists. I kept my voice low. "I get that he had his hands on you and you didn't care how it looked, how it made me feel." She rolled her eyes. "That did it." "Don't do that," I snapped. "Don't make me out to be insane for giving a damn." "Why'd you tell me to leave then?" I asked. "Say it." She crossed her arms, mimicking me, tension hanging like static. "Because I was angry. You barged in, acting possessive. I needed space." "Space?" I echoed. "I'm your husband, Celeste. Not some jealous stranger ruining your night. You picked him, and you can't even see it. She opened her mouth, closed it. Her voice softened. It wasn't about him. I just snapped. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't want you to leave. I searched her expression for anything honest, anything real, but all I saw was damage control. She wasn't reaching for me. She was managing me. You didn't stop me, I said. I was gone for 2 hours before you even sent a text. She didn't answer, just bit her lip and looked away. That silence said more than any apology ever. Good. You stayed, I said. You stayed at that party. Probably laughed with him while I sat by the water, wondering what the hell happened to us. I thought you'd come back, she murmured. Didn't think you'd actually leave. I shook my head. That's the problem. You didn't think about me at all. Her hand hovered toward mine, then faltered. Grant, please. I messed up. We can fix this. I wanted to believe that, wanted her to mean it, but I couldn't, at least not yet. I need truth, I said. Not easy outs. What's going on with you and Jasper? Just say it. She flinched like the words stung, sank back into her seat. Nothing's going on. He's my boss. You're spinning this into something it's not. I crouched to meet her eyes. Then stop lying, because last night wasn't nothing. She didn't respond. I stood. I'm not doing this right now. Grant, wait. But I didn't. I walked out, the same way I had the night before. No confrontation, no closure, just distance. And she didn't follow. That said more than her silence ever could. My name's Grant Whitaker, 39, and I'm finally starting to see the fractures I ignored in my marriage for too long. Celeste's vague apologies. The way she danced with Jasper Klein like I wasn't even real. That look in her eyes like I was inconvenient. I couldn't stay in that house, not after the way she tried to patch it over with wine and excuses. So I drove. Aimless. Let the city blur past, gray buildings and rain-slicked streets until I found myself at Owen's again. He opened the door, gave me one look and said, "Didn't take long." I dropped onto his couch. It felt more like home than my own kitchen. He handed me a soda, didn't ask much. Just sat across from me as I stared at the fizz in the can. Talk to her, he asked. Didn't go great. What'd she say? I took a sip, felt it burn on the way down. She said it was just a dance, that I overreacted, blamed the wine, blamed me. He nodded. And you're not buying it? Not even a little, I said. I was gone 2 hours. She didn't notice. Kept saying I embarrassed her like I was the problem. He rubbed his jaw thinking, you ever hear anything about this Jasper guy? I shrugged. Only what she tells me. Big-time CEO, visionary, always talking about his plans. He leaned forward. A buddy of mine, corporate attorney, mentioned his name before, says Jasper's got a reputation. I frowned. What kind of reputation? Owen's eyes didn't flinch. Charming, professional, but likes to blur lines with the women he works with, plays it smooth. But it's a pattern. A pattern. I thought about Celeste, how animated she got when talking about him, how often he came up. Late nights, dinners, excuses. She's always defending him, I said quietly. Every time I questioned something, she'd say I didn't understand how demanding he is. How brilliant. Owen didn't interrupt. Just let the silence settle. You think she's part of that pattern? I asked. He shrugged. Don't know her like you do. But if he's got a type and she's shutting you down every time you bring him up, I'd pay attention. I started pacing, boots dragging across his old carpet. She's been coming home late for months, I muttered. Wine on her breath, perfume I don't recognize. Her phone lighting up at midnight. It's just work, she'd say. And if I pushed, she'd snap. Like I was the one out of line. Owen leaned back. She didn't just dance with him, Grant. She told you where you stand. That hit harder than I wanted to admit. She said I don't trust her, I said. And maybe I don't. But maybe that's because she stopped giving me a reason to. I sat back down, dizzy with it all. I thought of all the moments she'd glowed talking about Jasper, like he lit her up in ways I never could. I wasn't paranoid. I was watching my wife slip into someone else's orbit while pretending nothing was wrong. I've been standing in the shadows, I said, and I let her keep me there. So what now? Owen asked. I don't know, I said. I can't go home, but I can't pretend this didn't happen either. You don't need to decide tonight, he said. But remember, she's not the only one with a choice here. That stuck. She used her voice last night, told me to sit, to leave, treated me like I was in her way. But I still had a say in this. I still had power. I stayed a while. Let the quiet settle me. Then I stood, finished my drink, thanked Owen, and left. Not to go home, not yet. I drove to a short-term rental I found earlier, small, furnished, anonymous. Signed a lease, dropped my bag, and stood in a beige room that smelled like bleach. It wasn't home, but it was space. And for now, that's what I needed. I should have been relieved to hear her voice again, to see her standing there, vulnerable and regretful, ready to explain everything. But something in me recoiled. Too much had already happened between us, too much silence, too many moments when she chose distance over connection. You want to talk? I asked, my voice flat, lacking the urgency I once would have had. You left me alone for hours, Celeste, and not once did you reach out. Why now? She flinched at my words, eyes dropping to the floor as if they were a punishment. I didn't mean to make you feel ignored, she said quietly, almost to herself. It wasn't like that. I was angry, hurt. I thought you'd come back. That we'd fix it like we always do. But you didn't. And when you left, she stopped, taking a shaky breath, wiping a tear from her cheek. I didn't know what to do anymore. And when you moved out, I lost control. I shook my head, the bitterness rising in my chest. Control over what, exactly? You didn't seem to care when I was here. I was invisible to you. She winced at the truth of it. No, that's not it, she whispered, taking a step closer, though her body language was still guarded. I was selfish. I wanted attention. I thought I could handle it, manage it, but I couldn't. I thought I was strong enough, but all I did was push you away. The words felt hollow, as if she were trying to convince herself more than me. But then she said something that hit too close. And I didn't see how much it hurt you, Grant. I didn't realize how it would rip us apart. Not until I saw you leaving. I stood up, feeling the cold of the room wrap around me. It wasn't just leaving, I said, the bitterness in my voice sharpening. It's that you let him in. You let him take my place. She froze. I didn't, her voice faltered. I never meant for that to happen. Then why didn't you stop it? I snapped, cutting her off. Why let him get that close? Why give him power over us? Because he made me feel important, she admitted, barely, above a whisper. I didn't feel that with you anymore. Not after everything, not after the fight. He was there and I was weak. I didn't want to be weak, but I was. She looked up at me then, eyes filled with remorse. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't make sense, but it was never about him. It was about me. About what I was missing. I closed my eyes for a moment, her words sinking in. It wasn't just the affair, it was the way she had replaced me with someone else. Not just emotionally, but in every way that mattered. I had become a ghost in my own life. You've been pushing me away for months, I said quietly, trying to keep the hurt from my voice. You didn't just slip once, Celeste. You allowed him to matter. You gave him what should have been mine. Her face crumpled, and she shook her, head choking back a sob. I didn't mean it, she said, tears falling freely now. I never wanted to hurt you, I'm so sorry. I thought I was in control, that it was harmless, but I wasn't. I couldn't see how it was killing us until it was too late. I stood there, feeling the anger leave me as exhaustion took its place. It's not about seeing it too late. It's about whether you're willing to do the work to fix this now. And I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if I can trust you again. Her shoulders sagged, the weight of her guilt crushing her. I don't expect you to forgive me today, she whispered. I'm not asking you to. I just needed you to hear me, to know that I understand how much I've damaged us. And I'll do anything to make it right. Anything. I didn't respond. Her apologies weren't enough. They couldn't undo the damage. Not yet. Maybe not ever. She stepped closer, but I didn't move. I know I can't undo the past, she said, voice cracking. But I want to make it right. I'll show you in time, I swear. She stood there waiting for a response, but I couldn't give her one. The silence between us was deafening. Her pain was palpable, but it felt like too little, too late. You told me to leave, I said, my words cold and final. And now you want me to come back? Her face twisted in anguish, but she didn't argue. I wasn't thinking, she said, her voice barely audible. I turned away, not wanting to see her like this. I can't do this now, I muttered. I can't listen to this anymore. She stood there one last time looking at me with tear-filled eyes. I love you, she whispered. And I'm sorry. The door clicked behind her as she left. I stayed standing, the words ringing in my ears, but they didn't heal anything. They didn't change what had been broken. I ran my fingers through my hair, trying to breathe through the weight of it all. She was sorry, but I didn't know if that would ever be enough. I'm sorry, Grant, she said, her voice tight, the words scraping at the raw spots I'd been carrying for months. I'm really sorry. You didn't just humiliate me, I said slowly, locking eyes with her. You made me feel invisible, like I didn't exist, like I was nothing to you. I stood there, watching you with him, and you told me to just deal with it. What was I supposed to do with that? She flinched, the tears welling up, but her gaze didn't break away from mine. Nothing, she said quietly. You shouldn't have had to do anything. I was wrong, selfish, stupid. I used Jasper to feel something, to escape the monotony. I didn't see what I was doing to us. Dr. Ellis wrote something down, then turned to me. How did that feel, Grant, hearing her say that? I shifted in the chair, the wood creaking under me. It's what she said in my office, I replied, my voice flat. She wanted his attention, his power. It's honest, I guess, but it doesn't change how it felt standing there fading while she laughed with him. I've been trying to figure out if I can trust her again, I added, feeling the weight of the words hang in the air between us. Celeste wiped her eyes quickly, as if she didn't want me to see the tears. I don't blame you, she said, her voice breaking. I broke that trust. I've been working with Dr. Ellis to understand why I did it, why I needed that escape. It wasn't about you, Grant, it was about me, feeling stuck, chasing something empty. Dr. Ellis leaned in. Can you tell him more about that, Celeste? Celeste nodded, swallowing hard. I got bored, she said, her voice barely above, a whisper. Bored with the everyday. Work was exciting, Jasper was exciting, and I let it pull me away. I didn't cheat. Not like that. But I let him matter too much. And I see it now. I hate it. I stared at her, the word bored hitting me like a slap. But it was true. Her late nights, her smile when she talked about him, it all fit. You could have told me, I said, the words rougher than I intended. Instead of running to him, we could have fixed it. She nodded, her tears spilling now. I know, she said softly. I was a coward. I didn't want to face it. The room grew quiet, just the soft sound of her crying and the ticking of the clock. Dr. Ellis broke the silence. Grant, what do you need from her now? I looked at Celeste, her face open, waiting. I need to know I'm not invisible, I said, my voice steady, yet laced with years of pain. That if we do this, you choose me. Not him, not work. Me. I can't be the guy you settle for. Her hand reached out, then stopped, hovering, unsure. "You're not," she whispered. "You never were. I lost sight of that. But I see you now. I'll prove it, if you let me." I didn't take her hand. I didn't move. I just let her words settle heavy between us. Dr. Ellis spoke up again. "This is a start. Maybe space, but not silence, could help." "Yeah." I nodded slowly. "Space, but talking. I'm not ready to come home yet. But I'm here." Celeste's face softened, a flicker of hope in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. The session ended awkwardly, with her giving me a quick hug. I stood still, stiff, not pulling away, but not embracing her either. I left first, stepping out into the cool air. The weight of everything still pressed down on me, but there was something different. I wasn't sure what yet, but it felt like a step. The next day, the news broke. My name's Grant Whitaker, 39 years old, and I've been separated from my wife Celeste for weeks now. Ever since she danced with her boss, Jasper Klein, at that company party and told me to sit or leave. We'd started talking again. Therapy, awkward hugs, her trying to show me she'd changed, but I was still here. Still figuring out if I could trust her. That night, I left the TV on low, a faint background hum filling the silence. Then a headline caught my eye. I grabbed the remote and turned up the volume. Luxury brand CEO, Jasper Klein, under investigation for misconduct. I sat down hard on the couch, the takeout menu forgotten in my hands. My stomach dropped. The reporter's voice was crisp, cutting through the hum of my fridge. 3 women from Celeste's company have come forward, accusing Jasper of inappropriate behavior, unwanted advances, late-night texts, and pressure masked as mentorship. I felt a rush of something. Anger, vindication, maybe relief. Owen had warned me about his reputation, and Celeste had admitted she leaned into his attention. But this was bigger. This was proof, right there on the screen. Jasper was not just some charming boss. He was a predator. I muted the TV, the silence filling the space, then grabbed my phone. I didn't call her. Not yet. I just scrolled through X, where people were already posting. Knew he was a creep, one said. About time. Another posted. I set the phone down, restless hands twitching. I waited for what she would do. The next morning, Celeste's text came through early. "Did you see the news? Can we talk?" I stared at it. The coffee I'd made was already cold. "Yeah," I typed back. "Come over." She showed up an hour later, knocking softly like she wasn't sure if I'd let her in. I opened the door. Her face was pale, her eyes tired. She didn't sit, just stood by the counter, arms wrapped around herself. "It's true," she said, no preamble. "What they're saying about Jasper." "I didn't know," she continued, her voice shaking. "Well, not the full extent, but I'm not surprised." I watched her, my eyes hardening. "You worked with him every day, you didn't see it?" She shook her head. "I saw pieces. The flirting, the way he'd linger. I thought it was just him being him. I didn't think..." She trailed off. "You didn't think he'd cross lines?" I said sharply. "Or maybe you didn't care, as long as it wasn't you." Her eyes snapped to mine, hurt flashing. "No," she whispered. "I cared. I told myself it was normal, part of the job." I crossed my arms, the anger in me shifting. "And you danced with him. Let him close, you liked it." She didn't deny it, just looked down, fingers digging into her sleeves. "Yeah," she whispered. "I did. And I'm ashamed of it now." We stood there, the air thick between us. I wanted to believe her, but I remembered Owen's words, Jasper's pattern, and her own admission about chasing his power. "What are you going to do?" I asked finally. She took a breath, standing taller. I gave a statement. To HR, to the investigators. I told them what I saw. Small things, comments, times he pushed boundaries with me and others. I'm not proud I stayed quiet for so long. But I'm done with that now. I raised an eyebrow. You're turning on him? She met my gaze, steady. I'm telling the truth. He's not who I thought he was, or maybe he is, and I was too blind to care. I didn't know what to say to that. Part of me wanted to cheer, Jasper exposed, but another part stung, knowing she'd been so tangled in his world. And the job? I asked. She sighed, leaning against the counter. I quit yesterday. Before this broke. I couldn't stay. Not after everything. Not just him, but me. What? I let happen. I need a fresh start. I blinked, surprised. She loved that job, thrived on it. You sure? She nodded, a small, sad smile pulling at her lips. Yeah. It's not about impressing you, Grant. It's about me. I lost myself there. I'm trying to find her again. I watched her and something in me shifted. She wasn't begging anymore. She wasn't desperate to fix us. She was just being real. You think this changes things? I asked quietly. She shrugged, uncertain. I hope it shows you I'm serious. I don't expect you to run back, but I want you to see that I'm not that person anymore, the one who hurt you. I didn't answer right away. Her words hung in the air, and for the first time in months I felt something inside me stir. Maybe it wasn't the end of us. Maybe it wasn't even the beginning. But it was a start. When she left, I sat on the couch, the apartment quiet again. I thought about power, how she'd chased it, how it had blinded her. But it wasn't betrayal, not the way I'd feared. She hadn't crossed that line. She'd let him matter more than me. And that hurt. But it wasn't the same. She was walking, away. Not just from me, but from everything that had kept her in that place. And maybe that was enough. Maybe it was enough for both of us.